Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and thank you very much for being here as we again step foot, maybe take a day and travel through um, Obsidian Star. Hey, the real Michigan news. Uh-oh. Hey, listen, I'm in the Ohio Valley. I'm a Buckeye. Don't even come here with all that goodness and light from that place upstate. Sorry, I'm just joking. It's a joke. It's just a rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State. Um, anyway, back on real things. Thank you very much for being here on this Future Friday as I get to talk about Obsidian Star, an RPG that I'm working on in a setting, and to invite you guys into the creative process and yeah. Hey, yeah. And also the opportunity to maybe if you guys have an idea about what you want to create, I could either offer advice on it or like a counter to it, like, oh, I would never design anything that way. And then kind of do like, compare and contrast. So allow me to introduce you to the Jovian system in Obsidian Star. So for those who don't know, this is a setting that is very post-human, very transhumanistic, far future. Humanity has left Earth, but we have not left our own solar system. And in actuality, our solar system is starting to get filled with a trillion souls or more. And humanity has spread out. And unfortunately, the very thing that has given humanity its desire and its ability to spread across the our own solar system is also the thing that allowed us to take our own baggage that we should have left behind and take it out into the stars. That creation were the space elevators and the orbital ring that actually encircles Earth, and it allowed humanity to basically the shit lord says, how far in the future exactly? I'm thinking about 200 years, maybe 300, but not technological development. It actually happens exponentially, not not in factors. We think in factors of doubles, but exponentially it's we advance far faster than we think we do, because we think it goes up in like this, when actually it ramps up pretty fast. So like just in my lifetime, I think we music wise, let's take music. I think I've lived long enough to see at least five forms of music technologically exist and disappear out of I think it's five, maybe six if I start counting even further. um and that's just music, right? Then we have I mean, if we look 200 years in our past, they would not recognize what we look like today, and then of course in the future. So the Jovian system, or the Jove as a lot of people call it, um, the planet itself is like teetering on the ability to for it to actually become a star. It is so large. It is its own gravity well. It has an immense magnetosphere. It expels tons of radiation. It's got 90 as of October 23rd, 2023. They've noted 95 moons of substantial size. I'm sure if they've recorded 95 moons, there's probably a good 50% more of maybe even 100% more other orbital bodies around Jupiter itself. Yeah, yeah, exponential development, but not 40K. No, it's not that dark. It's a little bit. Um, there's a glossy surface and a scummy underside. Is a better way to describe it. And yeah, Shy Squad says, we've lived long enough to see the decline of musical instruments in their physical manifestation. That's for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Drew says, I would be careful with predicting that the rapid technological advances we have made will be sustainable. That's true. And to be honest with you, what's the what there's a turn of phrase that says that humans are experts at predicting the future, but terrible about being right. So we are um we take lots of information in, and we are um super machines when it comes to taking it past information and then combining it together and going, well, the future is going to be this way, such as because we can predict dangers and predict outcomes, and it's how we develop language and things, because we know that we have a highly predictive mind, but for the most part we tend to be wrong. So believe you me, I don't think I'm right. I'm just going with what I feel is an acceptable incorrectness, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Shai says, once we harvest a couple asteroids, we will have all the resources it takes for sustainable development. Now, I'm taking, for those who don't know, and I'm sure you do know, that Isaac Arthur and his extended family, and there are other uh, YouTube channels and blogs and things like that, but I'm using a lot of like Isaac Arthur's um, uh, his renditions of what the future would be, but I want to bring this into something that's pretty fun and enjoyable, into a role playing game. Things that are settled out tend to be boring. Got to have a lot of conflict and such, and a lot of drama, and so the Jovian system is one of these places. So the Jovian system, in short, is a criminal empire. It is its own. The Jovian system is so dynamic. It is its own solar, extrasolar system unto itself. The reason why I call it a criminal empire is that we talked about moving from the sun and Mercury all the way out into the asteroid belt, and in many ways, there's a lot of uh, political and corporate and explorative nature about it. And a lot of it is very civilized, let's say. There's a dark underbelly. Like, for example, Mercury is a political hotbed because it is a place that is harnessing the power of the sun through solar energy. It is a place where you can predict solar flares and the dangers it can present as those flares disrupt electronics as it moves out through the solar system. It is also a place where it is constructing what will eventually become the beginnings of a Dyson swarm as people move into a K1 society. But let's be honest, it's actually a place where everybody wants the laser assist system and the gravity of the sun to accelerate their people out to the farthest reaches, but take it away from everyone else, because a laser assist system is also weapons of mass destruction. Nobody wants a laser pointed at their havens, but they sure would like to be able to point those lasers at somebody else. So yeah, yeah, Jovian refers to Jupiter. Yes, absolutely. And it does uh, relate to Zeus as well. So yes, Drew's like saying it's a gangster's paradise. It absolutely is. So we have politicians and scientists sitting on Mercury. We've got Venus, where the trills, the decadante, and the glitterati and such. They live in the atmosphere of Venus. There's also lots of riches, and it's a beautiful place to live in the sky. Humanity loves water, and the only thing greater than being around water sources, of course, is being in the air. But it also smells pretty horrible, having sulfuric acid clouds and such in its atmosphere, and it's emblematic of the people that are there. They're rich, they're powerful, they live in these aerostat habitats, but they also stink, right? Then we have Earth, Terra, which is ironic because most of humanity lives in the other 70% of the world. The oceans and many cities are overgrown. They have been abandoned, and there are some survivors, people trying to keep alive our culture and such, and they're scavenging and trying to save what's left of Earth as a museum of sorts, but also there are people who are trying to leave and they're up in the atmosphere, going up in the elevators and the orbital ring. Then we have Luna. Luna is second city. It is uh, the best and worst of what we think of Los Angeles and Miami and New York City and Singapore and major giant cities. And that's what Luna is. And so we've moved on from there to Mars and the asteroid belt. But but out of all of that, even with all the turmoil, it still reminds us of Earth. Is there some corruption? Sure. But as we move further away from the sun and move ourselves further away from civilization, um, scientists, politicians, corporations, anarchists, all of those people get to do whatever they want. The further away you go away from authority, the greater chance you have of people just being like, "Hey, listen, we you want to develop von Neumann nanotechnology? Sure. You want to try to develop a black hole, or, try to create black holes yourself over in this corner? Sure. You want to biologically create an enslaved race that has limited biologically limited intelligence and a desire to work hard and feel good about it? Absolutely. And that's what Jupiter is, with so many moons around it, and the ability to what makes Jupiter dangerous to live is the thing that protects criminals. A magnetosphere, high radiation, um, dynamic and elliptical orbits of those moon-like bodies makes it difficult to for communications and to find people, and you can hide things. And uh, there's in a current term in Obsidian Star, the big red storm that's on Jupiter, you could almost climb a ladder of the numbers of destroyed objects, failed experiments, human beings thrown out of airlocks and all the 9 yards being dumped down into that red storm. So much so that some people think you could actually climb on the bodies straight up out of the storm if you wanted to. It is known as a dumping ground because it's got such a high gravity. We talked about how dangerous it is to dump things into space because of the Kessler syndrome. Anything you dump into space is a relativistic missile. So dumping dead bodies or flushing criminals or unwanteds, innocent people out in airlocks is actually pretty damn dangerous. But Jupiter's a great dumping ground to throw it right down into the gravity well, and so that it is what it is. Um, as an organization, it is rather organized, even though it's a criminal haven. All the moons and the constructed space habitats and things around Jupiter, everybody's got their secrets. Everybody has, and some of them, the moons are havens for specific types of criminality. A la Star Wars, are there like mono criminal elements on some of the moons? Sure. Sure, there are. And unfortunately, everybody else has their own secrets. Some of them pretty damn decadent. For example, the criminal element that exists around Jupiter means that bribery, theft, intimidation, um, grafts, larceny, uh, all the types of, I'm trying to think of all the different types of crimes, all kinds of felonies and things like that. It all exists here. And to the point where the residents that live here understand what it takes to get what they to get ahead in life, to get what they want to get. And so um, you do have the physical strong arming, but scientists love the science. And when you have no restrictions and your ethics and moral codes are paper thin, the two have blended together. So there is a high rate of scientific knowledge and experts being the right hand individuals of the criminal element. So instead of like physical threats and the physicality that we think of criminals, being like thug like and strong arming and wanting to like break kneecaps and things like that. Instead, there are I guess you could call them brilliant assassins. These are mental thinkers who will threaten you, not with punching you in the face. They're going to threaten you with the science, and that's even scarier, because these are individuals who are like, oh, you know, we could design a virus that just goes after people with freckles, right? It's that kind of crap that they do against each other. It's the oh, I can predict the trajectory by flinging tungsten rods into orbit, and I can set them up right now, and in 3 months your hab is probably going to be destroyed unless you give me something, and then I can just set a thing and push those tungsten rods down into, drop them down into Jupiter's orbit, right? It's that kind of thing. Mm-mm. Jedman says a single average sized asteroid would hold enough material to replace the manufacturing capacity of the Earth for less than 5 years, and that's true. If we are able to break down, um, we we humans that live on Earth, we actually barely and literally have just scraped the surface. So while Earth is huge, we really don't use much of it, even with all the resources that we present day are air quotes running out of. The actual material of the earth is massive, and we've barely scraped the surface. So if we're able to harness an asteroid and dismantle it and use it, yeah, it would be amazing how much material we would find. And that's why it, utopia is on the horizon. People just haven't seen it. Yeah. Shai says, is technology far enough along to disintegrate the bodies and space junk without a trace? No. Um, I Within Obsidian Star, um, the Kessler effect is huge. So the Kessler effect is debris that encircles a planet Earth so far, but that encircles a gravity well of debris. And the Kessler effect is you take two objects in a gravity well orbiting. When they smash into each other, for whatever reason, when they shatter, they create fragments. Let's say two objects hit, one breaks, and now there's three objects. Well, those three objects are still orbiting, and then they themselves can run into other things. So if you're in a spacecraft, instead of dodging one or two or now three objects, now your spacecraft is a fourth object that gets smashed, and it can become 16, and further and further, and that effect keeps making more and more dangerous things. And so um Earth, Mars, and a little bit of Jupiter does have the Kessler effect. And that's what happened when, in the past, there were orbital battles, and nobody does that any longer because it's so dangerous. So, yeah, so the real Michigan News says, so interstellar travel is impossible, just like in real life? No, 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 there is interstellar travel. It's just difficult. And I do have a magic. There is magic. Uh, and when I say magic, I don't mean arcane. Um, the the magic that I'm talking about is an impossible engine, and in my world, the impossible engine are ice fire engines. So essentially, H2O is extremely important for humanity to live. We need water. We need, water's the essence of life, but we also need the hydrogen and the oxygen, which is also important. And that's the very fuel that's used to fire ice fire engines. Essentially, H2 is broken apart, turn using the hydrogen and oxygen. Those two are then compressed and then used as rocket fuel in a like magnetic bottle effect. So they're chemical engines, but it's also detonated to become extremely high pressure plasma, and so that's burned for engines. Is it really possible? Not really. Um, yeah, yeah. It's slightly plausible, but not really. So the ask is that you go, all right, that's my gimme for this sci-fi setting. That there's ice fire engines, and I also like the idea of burning money, burning the thing that's necessary for life. And so then it becomes an economy that, uh, when in a desperate time, you could a starship could literally burn the very oxygen that people are breathing to use as fuel to escape, escape, maneuver, things like that. So yes, so ice fire engines use water that is then separated into hydrogen and oxygen into tanks, and then those things are then burned to get someplace else. Burning money. Well, and listen, it sometimes it's not burning your money; it's burning other people's money and their life. It's burning money, which burns people's livelihood. So yeah. Um, so Jupiter as a criminal haven, it was, of course, as most people think, it didn't start out that way. It started out as people going, woohoo, we've left Earth, we can go, we can be and do anything with portable power units and ample resources and the ability to download information in our brains and genetic engineering and AI systems and all that. We are going to have a utopia. And what happens? What do we normally do? We think of ourselves as the hero of our own story, but we fail to realize that we're the villains of everyone else's story. And so, moving out to Jupiter, a real reason for wanting to move out to Jupiter are a ton of moons. What is it? The Galilean moons, the four largest ones. Io is the closest one to Jupiter, and it revolves around Jupiter so quickly. It's like a magnetic dynamo, and the gases that flow around Jupiter spin super fast. So it's like a magnetic dynamo, and it's basically a power source. It's an electric. It is a massive, super giant, massive, copper cable around the, spun. It's crazy, and so energy, resources, mineral resources, icy bodies, and guess what else Jupiter is? Jupiter is also the second largest gravity well for slingshotting. You got the sun, you got Jupiter. Yes, you can use other planetary bodies, but essentially, if you could slingshot your way around the sun and then plot a path to go slingshot your way to get some gravity assist past Jupiter, and you could fling yourself out, pass into and past the Oort cloud. And so there's a heavy toll to be paid if you want to slingshot your way around the Jovian system. Because if they don't want you to go there, all they have to do is move a little bit of trash in your way and you're dead. And the threat of having that happen, and it's happened quite a number of times to the dismay of others in the Jovian system that are like, don't put bullshit up in the atmospheres and in our gravity well, damn it. Like, don't make the Kessler's syndrome worse. And so interstellar battles are not a thing. Actually, what happens is it's mostly piracy. It's so difficult to manufacture and maintain and put man-made, home-built objects into space that it behooves anyone to destroy it. It's better to steal it and take it. And so piracy is rampant. Everybody raises their hand and goes, anybody want piracy? And everyone raises their hand in public and goes, piracy should be stopped. Yeah, but behind the scenes, everyone loves it. No one wants it done against them, but everyone, you know. So if there happens to be a dismantled starship, and they're selling parts and its fuel and its engine to somebody else, I didn't steal it, but I'll sure buy it, and that's a huge economy, especially in the Jovian system. Scavenging from other people is a big deal. Also, it's again because Jupiter is so difficult to live in with communication and radiation, and the weird irregularities of its moons, that in order to have communication and relationships with other people that live on these moons, you need to be within close proximity with each other, or at least send emissaries to barter and trade and make deals with each other. And so you might have a moon filled with scientists who have placed themselves in stasis, and all they do is operate in robotic bodies, and they're working on high-tech uh, devices or something. And they may very well be thinking, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create the ultimate universal panacea for every disease ever. But to do that, we need to operate on 300,000 different fatal diseases in our labs deep down in our moon. And if they happen to sell that or trade that with another criminal organization somewhere else around the Jovian system, so be it. You know, yeah. The real Michigan News says criminal haven reminiscent of what happened on Mars in Marathon. I don't remember that. I do not remember that. Um, Also, the Jovian system itself is so large that there are individuals who are thinking that if necessary, or maybe in the future, that Jupiter could become its own star. Now, this is the thought of people who think very, very far in the future, and also the idea that at some point the sun is going to go out. Now, not in 100 years, not in 1,000 or 10,000 years or 500,000 years, but at some point there's going to be a collapse, and being able to harness Jupiter itself, or you even use Jupiter as a testing ground for creating your own stars, is a pie in the sky, a K2, K3 society kind of thing that scientists here are thinking about. Also, criminals tend to be pretty selfish and narcissistic. So having the ability to um, become effectively immortal by copying your brain, downloading, using growing clones, and carving off body parts from clones of yourself to ensure that you live forever. It is a thing. The ability to copy your brain and surround yourself in a criminal organization with basically individuals of like mind, because it's basically yourself. Um, I don't. Would you call that internally incestuous? I don't know, but that's even a thing as well. Let's see. The Real Michigan News says Marathon 1995 ego shooter by Bungie Software with an intricate backstory of the colonization of Mars and its moon marathon, sort of like your setting, but not really. Oh, okay. I didn't. Why don't I know that? I've got so many blanks in my uh, geek knowledge. It's crazy, and I'm a man of a certain age too. I've had to catch up on a lot of this. Anyway, thank you very much for that. It says no space junk in marathon. Implausible. Hmm. Hmm. Why would you say that, shitlords? Hmm. Anyway, the the idea that um, it's run by criminals, many of them don't consider themselves to be criminals, but there's an understanding of everyone that lives in a Jovian system that everyone is trying to lead their best life, and a lot of that means that the morality and the ethics that you hold don't necessarily apply to someone else. And so there is a hand out for a handshake and a and a knife or a gun behind their back kind of idea. Oh, it's true. Marathon is the first ego shooter for intellectuals. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Thank you. Let's see. Let's see if we could find some images here of that and put that up. See if I if this is what you're talking about. I'm gonna share this out here. Do, do, do. I'm a little bit of a luddite here. Is this what you guys are talking about? Let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Yeah. Oh, saying that because everybody travels faster than light and never collides with the space dust that's around. Saying that, okay, I get it. I was like, what was it referring to? Oh, yes. Yeah, I, I'm embracing the particulates in space. I'm embracing space junk, and this is it. Ah, okay, I get it. Yeah. All right. First person shooter. So I'm embracing the idea that space junk is a bad thing, is a horrible thing. That you know, two starships battle each other. They one blasts the other one out of space. The one that wins is harmed and it's blasted into, chunks of it are missing. And guess what? It becomes a permanent problem for everybody else. And I'm embracing, much like the television show and the book series that was based off of The Expanse. I'm embracing that idea and making that a feature of this tel- tabletop RPG setting, that you don't want to do that, and actually you'll make enemies of people. Two individuals fighting each other in space makes enemies of everyone else around you, because once you start dumping junk into space, again, it becomes it can become relativistic dangerous to everyone else. Either, and this isn't true, but the idea is, either you're dumping junk into space, it's sitting still and someone runs into it, or it gains acceleration and it becomes something that can impact everyone else who's standing still. Yeah. Shai says, nowhere near as realistic as your world in Obsidian Star, but it was a quantum leap in immersive backstories for shooter games. And that's rare to have like a really good, like an immersive backstory for a game. But because a lot of times it's like, hey, take, what is it? Damn, I almost forgot. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that are like, hey, there's a backstory, and then they quickly forget what that backstory is, because the game's better just to be played without the backstory. Um, Assassin's Creed is a perfect example of that, right? It's like, well, you're going to go back in your memories and let's drop all that, because really the cool part is parkouring and over things and jumping in slow motion as you land and shove a blade down someone's the back of their neck or something, right? Which is the cool part. That's cool. Okay, okay. Let me find out more about this. All right, let's stop sharing this out here. So, um, a few more things about Jupiter, and then we're going to get away from that, and I want to talk about technology. So, Jupiter, of course, being a criminalized location, means that individuals that want to buck the system, that feel like they don't belong where they are, usually come here. They come to the Jovian system because there's a greater chance they're going to be embraced. Now, maybe that is being a hardliner in terms of rules, and you're like, damn it, I wear my fascist T-shirt proudly, and no one's listening to me. You may end up here. You might be on the run. You might be a thief. You might have been a pirate that barely escaped. You may be a rogue AI or a scientist that has problematic issues with things, whatever. They're holding me back, and they know I'm brilliant. That kind of thing. It is a dumping ground for sometimes the worst of society. Does that mean that you could just feel free to nuke all the moons around Jupiter because it's a cesspool? Well, you might want to hold on a little bit. Just like in real life, problematic things can help society and people, which is unfortunate, but yes. So, are there highly addictive drugs being processed on a moon that's a drug factory, but they're also making medicinals that can help people with these, new and rare diseases? The answer would be yes. Are there mercenary groups that will, if you pay them anything, they will murder, kill who you want, but you could also pay them to defend an outpost that's being attacked by someone? Yes. Um, Marathon is mostly about AI supercomputers that control space travel, getting bored and going rampant. It is not that much like your setting, but it's cool. Oh, cool. Okay. And aliens who enslave other aliens. Yes, the Obsidian star system mean one of the bylines that I have in my head is, we are the aliens we wanted to find. So humanity starts changing so much that may even genetically we are starting to diverge, and we have become, from your point of view, you are seeing the aliens that we always wish we could find. And it's my back door about to the Fermi paradox. So because for those who don't know what the Fermi paradox is, it is the paradox is we as humanity have not found aliens yet, but mathematically the universe should be filled with alien life. And so why haven't we found them? And so there's a lot of reasons why, Fermi paradox, and they're too far away, they don't exist yet, they've had vast empires that have collapsed, we can't see them, maybe we're a zoo and we're being prevented from seeing them in the first place, blah, yada yada yada. But my backwards answer to the Fermi paradox is we are the aliens that we were going to find, and we have found them because people are starting to lead their lives differently. So, okay, the last thing about the Jove is that there is a sense of pride for a massive community of individuals, and I'd probably say Fermi. I think it's a Fermi. Fermi. Sorry about that. Let me go find this. Let me go to YouTube and go to Isaac. Let's go. Isaac Arthur Fermi paradox. He's got a huge Fermi compendium. Let's see. Let's share this out here. So one more. Sorry, I gotta click one more thing here to share this out. And yeah, there's Isaac Arthur and his Fermi compendium, and this is from seven. This particular one's from 7 years ago, but he's got a huge. I mean, there's all kinds of like technological time bombs, advanced spaceships, hidden civilizations, rare technology, habitable zones, fallen empires, not looking in the correct places, so on and so forth. So, yeah. That's his most recent one, Rebel Space Colonies. But yeah, like why don't we see megastructures? Maybe there's imprisoned planets. Maybe we are in an imprisoned planet, etc., etc., etc. So, actually, let me move this here. Oops, where did my chat go? There we go. All right. So, okay, I didn't finish my thought. So, there is this strange community around the Jovian system that is very reminiscent of like criminals being local heroes. So, Bonnie and Clyde. Oh, no problem, no problem at all. Bonnie and Clyde is a perfect example of like a young lady and young man that went around on a crime spree, and the public. There were elements of the public that cherished them, and so the criminal organizations that are around the Jovian system, despite the fact that lots of law-abiding individuals are like, they shouldn't. Not only should they not have taken over such an important resource, but maybe we should nuke them from orbit and get rid of them. The fact of the matter is that people kind of like the idea of they're like the anarchists of our society. This is a place where, much like every major city has its red light district. Yeah, like Robin Hood, very much, very bucking the system kind of thing. It is why I came from the East Coast. I'm out here in Ohio Valley. I'm a big union guy, not because I think unions are good, but I think it's because unions are the antithesis against a single method of rulership, right? Sometimes we one reason, other than the sexiness of it, of being the rebel, one reason of encouraging rebellious behaviors, having a red light district where you're able to engage in uh, debauchery and such to blow off steam, is that we kind of sometimes we need a release valve for societies that have strict societal and socioeconomic rules. We need a place where people can, not that we think it's good, but sometimes you need a place to just scream into the into the void. You want a place to gamble. Gambling's wrong, but we still have casinos. Debauchery's wrong, but it's still the oldest profession in the world, right? And the Jovian system kind of represents that. Everyone says bad. You shouldn't be doing those things bad. And what do? They take a trip here to go to one of their casinos or other dark, far more darkly implemented places where you can rent dolls, basically human beings that have the body shape and have adjusted their brain chemistry or have computerized brains to be the kind of people you want to rent for the evening or the week or whatever. Yeah, I wish there was a freelancers union, one that had any balls. Here's the problem with that though, is that anarchy is good, but the point of anarchy is not having any rules. And so it's very difficult to have a bunch of people who are all individual free thinkers to organize themselves together. It's the worst conundrum, right? Because it would be awesome to have a political party any around the world that is like we're nothing but free thinking, do whatever you want, we're going to buck the system kind of thing. Except the problem is you always have individuals who their freedom is imposing on your freedom. And yeah, yeah, so they can take more money off of you too. That's the thing too. Funding getting an organization off the ground requires money. Money requires lobbying. Lobbying requires organization, and then the cycle goes through it again and again, right? Yeah, it's Boston Tea Partying, like, hey, no taxation without representation, because we're going to make our own taxes. We're not going to pay you. We're going to make our own taxes and take it off of people. Shitlord says, debauchery as a profession, isn't debauchery more like sleeping around free of charge? uh you may think it's free, but it's going to cost you one way or another. But for a short period of time, go for it. Right? And but so yes, that is a thing. Yeah. Yeah, I'd pay. Right. For a free, that's kind of like, it's very difficult to unionize free thinkers and anarchists. It's very difficult to do that. But people need a place to go to get these things off their chests, or to organize, or to be able to incite rebellion. And that's kind of a dangerous thing in the Jovian system. And so, along with all this criminalization and such like that, are there lots of spies here? Of course, because every other community wants to know what the hell's going on, and those individuals are then inserted. And so you have this thing where, are they um, turncoats? Are there spies for the spies to make sure the spies are doing what they're doing before they get converted? Are those spies converting people to then have the law-abiding communities further out in the solar system use the Jovian system to, for example, the United States is notorious for saying we want to treat people lawfully, but then using uh, false flag other countries to do things for us, to say, well, we didn't do it, but they did. And the same is here. You do have law-abiding communities that are like, yeah, we're not going to hurt you, but we'll sure send you the Jovian system to have you interrogated or held or whatever, where it'll be difficult to get you back, and they'll extract information out of you that we here we don't do that kind of thing. And so many other countries have done that too, right? And it's the reason why, for example, you can get in trouble for buying stolen goods, because your act of buying stolen goods is reinforcing stolen property economies. And this is the same thing here. Just like piracy, uh, the people that hate piracy are encouraging it because they are buying, selling, and trading the things that are stolen from other people. As a matter of fact, a lot of starship travelers will literally dump their cargo or dump out their fuel, their ice fire fuel, their water, ice, basically, tanks, or their hydrogen and oxygen tanks. They'll literally drop them and fly away on auxiliary tanks, backup tanks, just so that they can leave the stuff behind for pirates to take, because that's really what they want, right? It's like, oh damn it, pirates! All right, guys, we're gonna have we spent a lot of time and energy carving up that ice chunk, but we're gonna have to leave it. We were ice wranglers, but we're gonna leave it and leave it for the pirates, and maybe come back another day or something like that. Shai says, there's nobody to take a stand for freelancers in Germany. Wow. I'd gladly drop 5% to have people push politicians around, but I digress. What are the unions like in Obsidian Star? Wayland, Wayland Yutani? Ooh, that went really dark. For those who don't know, the Wayland Yutani Corporation is the one that basically started and has been encouraging the entire Alien and Aliens franchise. They're the ones like, it would be a good idea to bring one of those alien seeds back. Yeah, Deadman says, except unions will take closer to 30% of your paycheck. Oh, they'll take more than that if they could. They used to break kneecaps for that. But yeah, so yeah, unions, are there unions? Of course there are. Of course. As a matter of fact, and I haven't quite figured out how to mechanically feature this, but there are nations without borders and borders without nations. So there are individuals floating around the solar system that belong to are individuals that belong to a nation of individuals that have never had a border, that they all belong together like a union, but they are considered a nation of individuals. And I believe there are many communities on Earth that are trying to do that, because we have international waters, and there are individuals that are trying to say, well, in international waters, we could have come together to become our own nation. And the same thing exists in space, that there are nations that don't exist on a map, but all the people are linked as a nation. I'm trying to figure out how to do that, but I want to create that. Yes, yes, yeah, absolutely. It says, yeah, what I know about Deadman shows what I know about unions. Yeah, you said Jupiter is a criminal haven. Does it have unions like Jimmy Hoffa like unions? Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, because it is so criminally minded, it actually has a lot of organization. Like um, how organized crime operates, it operates that way. So there are rules, and there are, how do I explain this? Um, there are rules, there are enforcement arms. There are pretty brutal, but there's a judiciary arm. These things exist. They're just not written down in books, right? It's the people that live here understand that is very criminally organized, but it has an organization. There are individuals that are made men, right? Yeah, Deadman says Wizards of the Coast hired the Pinkertons multiple times, and they are, they are the Pinkertons are a hireable mercenary investigation arm kind of thing. Same thing exists around the Jovian system, right? There's multiple enforcement arms. If you want to make a handshake deal, you can. And you can make a deal with just about anyone to do anything. And that cost doesn't have to be just money. It could be life. It could be servitude. The to 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 pay for your whatever deal you have. Does it mean that they might send operatives out to get you back? Of course. um they may use your body for its own purpose. Yeah, things like that. So there is, this is weird to say, but some people even feel like the Jovian system is more organized than other havens around the solar system because everyone knows what the rules are. Now, you have to live here and understand. No one tells you. There's no list. There's no book. Uh, there are no lawyers, but are there guides? Are there people here who are paid individuals to get outsiders and teach them what it's like to be here? Yes, because everyone's trying to make a buck. Everyone's trying to make money. As a matter of fact, I didn't go into uh, those who are new here. I didn't explain to you one of the monetary systems, which are bricks. The other guys could tell you about that. There's a shadow monetary system called bricks. Bricks are basically uh, plastic cubes, and the plastic cubes uh, are used because they are mass, volume, weight, density cubes that when you go into space, yes, Kitty, I know, I love you too. Mhm. Um, uh, During the early beginnings of space travel, you only had a limited amount of cargo you could take with you, and people just start calling them bricks. And what would you put in a brick? You could put anything in a brick. um, you could put gold in it, or playing cards, or family pictures, or chocolate, cigars, whatever, spices. You could put anything in a brick. And bricks became Schrodinger's cat-like bricks because you didn't know what was in a brick, but the value of the brick maintained itself, and people would buy, sell, and trade bricks um, for the sole purpose of having it. Yep. Yeah, I call my favorite brick a companion cube. Yeah, yes, and um, and it became um, a very socialized thing to have. Like, people would talk about what they had in their bricks, and then people would die. People would lose those bricks. Pirates would steal them, and then it just became this free for all with a bunch of bricks. And yes, you could open them up and figure out what's inside, but then it would kind of lose its value because with it closed, it was a mystery box. And so some bricks have never been opened. Most of them have never been opened, but people would buy, sell, and trade them. Hey, hey, can I get a free berth? I got a starship. I need to get a berth into this place. Can I go ahead of the people waiting? And the person who's setting it up is like, well, I just can't break the rules for you. And he said, well, listen, I got like 3 bricks in here. I'll give you the 3 bricks if you just let me, park ahead of time. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, I guess I moved you ahead of the list. Come on in." And you set up your ship. That you give them the 3 bricks. The person takes 3 bricks, and in their head, they're imagining what's inside of them, but they'll never open them because they'll trade them to somebody else. And so, yeah, there is that kind of thing. Lastly, um, um, technology and 3D printing. So, um, because player characters may not want to use spaceship travel, and that has its own issues. They will want to carry with them blueprints to do 3D printing for their. You want to have your laser weapons and your armor and all that kind of all the badass stuff. But it's difficult to take that with you and travel it around the solar system because you're going to have to pack all your crap in the bricks, and it's expensive to carry large, heavy, big things into bricks because it's going to take up more bricks, which takes up more space in the cargo, which A is going to let everybody know that you're carrying something valuable or huge, and it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you got to take it with you to a place that's going to go through your bricks, making sure it's not dangerous. Very listen, thinking man sci-fi. I'd buy the books. What are the publishing plans? Probably giving it away for free. It's I wanted it. My idea was going to just make it a very simple 1 to 5 page rules light system, and my thinking got too far ahead of me. And I okay. Side note, uh, ha- I'm with Critical Hit Publishing, and I have books that I publish, and they're being sold now. They're actually the majority of them are actually being sold through Miskatonic repository for Call of Cthulhu because I've done some work with Critical Hit Publishing for Call of Cthulhu recently. Um, but anyway, I want to be an RPG creator. I don't want to be a publisher. I don't want to be a marketing arm. I don't want to be a project manager. I don't want to be a layout artist. And essentially, that's what happens when you start making really big RPGs. So I think it'd be far better for me to just lay it out, get some great artwork, and just give it away. Because I'd rather it be exist. Sure, is it one of those? Is it one of these games that's probably not going to get a lot of airplay? Sure, but I don't. I don't want to push numbers. I'd rather be the creative end and put it in somebody else's name. Uh, DB says, you know that the reason there's order in the Jovian system is for the same reason there was order in Las Vegas back in the mafia era. Yeah. Yeah, that's the exact reason why there's order. Most of it is fear. Yeah, most of it is fear. There, well, fear and the opportunity to rise above, to get more attention, to be a made man, right? There's quite a bit of that, but everybody, yes, like Las Vegas, which was built in the middle of nowhere, and to this day, Las Vegas still has legalized prostitution. They don't call it that, and they don't enforce the law that says that the federal government says it's wrong. They basically get themselves involved when it comes to tangential things like drugs and violence and things of that nature. But essentially, it's still legal there. Yeah, Fear and Loathing. If we talk Las Vegas, like the movie Fear and Loathing. So technology. So what is technology in this world? Well, technology comes about through um, um, you, players can have access to technological arms. So it is a I'm splitting the difference between um, gun porn and um, hand waving. So I don't want giant lists of all kinds of firearms, but I don't want to hand wave it away and just make a generic gun that just does a generic thing. So when I split the difference, you say everything's run by the mafia everywhere? No, I'm saying that we just don't call it the mafia. But there's usually some kind of criminal element running something somewhere. if we really think about it, uh, including our political system and Wall Street and all that. Like, if you really think about it, what happens is if there's no rule against it, or if you can break a rule and no one finds out, technically that's crime, and if you keep doing it, that's organized crime. So yeah. Death Angels Shadows is technically it's illegal in Clark County, which is Las Vegas and North Las Vegas, but it is legal in some neighboring counties like Nye, for example. Yep, from what I understand, yes, that from how I interpret it, and I don't know, I don't live there, I don't know, but how I interpreted it was technically it is illegal. It's just not enforced. Much like how we have legal marijuana use, really it still is illegal. It's just not enforced because it's federally illegal, but county wise or state wise, it is legal. So it's it's very strange, but kind of cool if you think about it, right? It's like, which do you fall on? So technology is divided into like chem tech. Of course, tech ends everything. So it's like chem tech, thermal tech, razor tech, storm tech, neurotech, and things like that. For example, the most interesting one, as I expressed, is called razor tech, RAXOR, and razor tech, and razor tech is the technology used for X-rays and gamma rays. It is X-ray technology. And yes, there are X-ray guns and X-ray carbines and X-ray rifles and X-ray heavy weapons. Yes. Um, Since I was 21 when I moved there in 94. I'm gonna do some really quick math and figure out how old you are. No, I'm not. Since I lived out there in the mid 90s, by then the FBI had pushed the mob out of the gaming industry and megacorps had taken over and done the same. And I'm gonna end that comment with the megacorps took over. Yes, and the mob was pushed out because let's be honest, you um power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the minute you get like organizations and criminal or political or corporate or community, doesn't matter. Once you get people in there and they start putting their hands on money, most of them want even more money, and they'll do more things to get that power and that money. So it really doesn't matter who does it. There are no legitimate places. It's human fallibility that ruins everything for everybody else. So it's effed up. So like Razor Tech is X-ray and gamma ray technology, and so you can have a razor weapon or razor carbine or razor rifle or things like that that fires X-rays. And yes, X-rays can see through things. So you could have a rifle pointed up, see through something, and then blast somebody with X-rays through something else. It has super high penetrating power, all that kind of stuff. But here's the problem: you really don't want to start firing high levels of radiation inside of space habitats. So the minute you do that, you're probably going to end up having a lockdown, alarms going off, and then people are going to want to recycle your body because you're an asshole for setting off radiation inside of a sealed habitat. So a lot of the technology is really cool. The other thing is there's probably going to be a problematic issue getting uh, any kind of razor weapon printed in a printing machine, a 3D printing machine, because the minute you start printing out firearms of any sort inside of a machine, it too might set off alarms. And it is a problem that I think players will be very creative to navigate around. But you don't need to use Razor Tech to make weapons. You can just make a Razor Tech panel that you just pull the rod out, open the rod up, you make a big square, you hold it up against the wall, and you can see right through it. Yeah, Shay says, yeah, goody, shooting on ships has consequences. Most weapons, there are safe weapons to fire on starships. I'm going to point out the weapons that are horrible to fire on starships. So, there's splat guns that are listed under Chemtech that they basically shoot out globules of like adhesive, like webbing or ooze. It's basically glue, sticky substances. Boom, pff, splat somebody against the wall. They're done. There is Storm Tech weapons. Storm Tech is a electromagnetic types of things and dialed down very short to its lowest levels. You can stun someone like a stun gun. You can also disrupt electronics, which is you really kind of don't want to do that in a habitat, but at least you're not blasting holes in things. And then there's also Kinetitech, which is basically like throwers or air guns. So it's kinetic technology. So there are firearms that shoot slugs in spaceships that are safe. They basically shoot needles. They're like needler guns. Um, and I'll talk to you about decompression in just a minute. There are needler guns that you can. They don't penetrate armor, but if you penetrate flesh, you could have it can just cause pain, or you can knock someone out with drugs or something like that. There are air guns, basically high pressure air guns that just fire air compression, and you could knock someone down or blast a door open or something like that inside of a space habitat without damaging other things. So yeah, there. You don't want to fire laser weapons, Razor Tech weapons, which fire X-rays and gamma rays, or Blaster Tech, which fires microwaves and high frequency radio waves. So there are microwave guns. Yeah, original weapons catalog. It's so funny. Decompression. Real life decompression does not operate. It operates closer to the expanse, less like explosive decompression. In reality, decompression could actually be stopped if let's say someone did blast a hole fist size or chest size inside of a hab. The air will escape, but it won't be explosive. It'll just start. slowly spilling out. And as a matter of fact, what I understand, even the International Space Station today, it's leaking air. It's just pressure. It's just the side effects of pressure. So you can take a notebook or someone's body or a sofa or something like that, as long as it's hard, and you could just plast it up on the hole. Um, People in zero G habs actually walk around with these flexible little plastic cubes or pancakes that can open up into these like translucent shields that you can just throw up on a wall if you have decompression. So I mean, people just walk around with them, or you just go to an emergency thing, open up the canister, pull a plate out, unfold it, and boom, and just pop it up. And later on, somebody can come and fix it. But there is no explosive decompression unless someone literally explodes the wall and releases all the air all at once, and then you just float out into space. And then there's you've got what, like 30 seconds or something before the air escapes your body and you freeze and that kind of stuff. But yes, there is decompression, but you really don't want to have that happen. Also, um, when anyone disrupts a space habitat, you are effectively committing a a crime that deserves death. So, pumping dangerous gases into the filtration system, forcefully opening up airlocks so that the air can escape, so people can, air can be blasted out of a habitat, using any kind of weapon or sabotage to blow the outer skin. Um, anytime you do something that affects a habitat, that it could affect the entire population, you're committing a genocidal crime, despite the fact that you're maybe going after one person. So you don't want to do that in this setting, socially, right? Like it might be effective to do it, and yeah, is farting including under this? Listen, the one who dealt it, yes, in many ways, yes. Yeah, they're it's not the funnest thing in the world, but there are people who are tasked to do nothing but keep the equilibrium of the station. So if you got bad gas, people are not going to like you. And I mean, truly, they will not like you. Yeah, you don't want to fart in a ventilation system. Now, do people do things and make fun of someone, like fart in a room and then seal it up and make them have to stay in it? Yes. Do things like that happen? Does someone take a gas grenade and throw it in and then slam the door and lock it shut so that they get knocked out? Yeah. Things like that. Yeah, of course that stuff's going to happen. Of course. Will the authorities do that and shut a hallway down and then evacuate all the oxygen to knock out the people in it? Yeah, they'll do that. You don't want to do that and want that to have to happen, but sabotage is a real thing, and PCs tend to want to do that, and there's a cost. There's going to be a cost for it. So, yeah. Shice is like, how about having to piss in a cup and split molecules off of it to make water? I heard some real astronaut talk about having to do this. Recycling is a major thing. Recycling your urine and using your recycling the feces and using it to as a fertilizer and all that stuff. Recycling is pretty common. Even the most decadent, most evil criminal organizations understand you got to recycle. It's not a green thing. It's a necessity. Anything you take up into space, including your own tears, is needed for everyone else. So um, people that die are not. You don't eject people out into space when you die. Usually they're recycled, or they are decomposed and used into like hydroponics and that kind of thing. Uh, yeah, anything you take into space is shareable with everyone else, including your bad habits. Yeah, Shitlord says decompression is controversial. They still aren't sure what would really happen to you. And you know what? I don't think anybody wants to test it, although they're probably going to have to do that. I guess the easy way to do that would just be take like a pressurized air tank in the space and pop it but I don't mm, pop a lid and see what happens, and then put cameras and other sensors in it or something. I don't know. The Rat Pack used their influence to get the mob to eliminate racial discrimination. They refused to play anywhere until Sammy Davis Jr. was treated as an equal. That's absolutely true, and it's funny that they were able to do that because, like, Sammy Davis Jr. and what is her name, Ella Fitzgerald, um, and her name was shit. Anyway, yeah, there were the Soviets tested it on a dog. Ugh. I know you got to test it. Ugh. I didn't know that. I'm sure someone had to test it, but um, but yeah, back in the days, and here's the thing: there's still discrimination in this Obsidian Star. It's not racial. It's genetic. And there's a difference. The dog survived a couple seconds of decompression and went back to normal after a while. Really? I didn't know that. All right, guys, listen. Again, I appreciate you being here. Your time is extremely valuable. This is not this These Fridays are just my opportunity to express to you how I think about things. I love taking very mundane, normal things, uh, things that aren't very exciting, and twisting them a little bit to make them a little more interesting. Also, I've said this before. Uh, Sometimes we in the role RPG space are a little bit too brilliant for our own good, and we like to get to the end of the equation. And I like the stuff in the middle. I like I'm like the math teacher that wants you to show your work. I like the work, not necessarily the answer. And I like the messiness of trying to come to the conclusion of a thing rather than the conclusion itself. Because I think that's the best part of the drama, is the figuring the thing out. Yeah. Shai says, okay, next week, all Abyss, each and every layer in 4 days. Then Obsidian Friday, of course. Yeah, we'll stay down in the lower planes. I think I found not just the Abyss. I found another way into the Abyss because I was thinking, I, it made me think, what if the Abyss was never evil in the first place? The Modrons, or at least the lawful neutrality of the other planes, and to get them organized, the Abyss became the dumping ground. It was like none of these other multiple infinite planes fits into this alignment system, so they dumped it into the Abyss. And then as an end result, because people hate chaotic evil people, they said, why don't you live down here? And then it just became the Abyss, not out of punishment, out of necessity. Desmond says, man, I always hated showing my work. Me too. Me too. Because I always felt like, oh, don't you just want the answer? You're going to judge me on my work too? Damn. But yeah, intellectually, I feel like that's the best part, the messy part. So I love post-humanity, the idea of it, of high technology and where we can go in the future, but it is going to be fucking messy before we get there, right? And that's the harmful thing for us, but in the creative space, I think it's the greatest place we can be. So I love it. I love it a lot. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Your time. The Real Michigan News says, okay, great setting you got there. I'll be back next Friday. Okay. And yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much for just being part of the show. Yeah, the River Styx. Yeah, the River Styx, the River Lathe. I think there's the boatmen, all that. Let's do it. Let's do it. 4 days of it. Let's do it. So guys, have a great one. Your time is valuable, but I hope I can make change for you. Have a great one. Have a great weekend, guys. Peace.